South Korean presidents don't get much of a honeymoon. After scoring in the mid-50s in opinion polls right after December's election, Park's popularity is down to 44%. That's the lowest rating of any incoming elected president. To explain why, we have Scott Snyder with us on Skype. Scott is a senior fellow for Korean Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations and spent years living in South Korea. Welcome to LinkAsia.
Thank you, Chui.
Now, why is Park doing so badly in the opinion polls? After all, she's hardly had time to find her office in the presidential palace.
Well, she campaigned as a prepared woman president, but so far, in terms of her transition, it hasn't run as smoothly as other transitions have run, and so there are concerns, I think, about essentially getting her people up and running. Some of that is self-imposed because she had a prime minister candidate who failed to pass scrutiny because of some ethical issues that came up in his past. The fact that there are other members of the cabinet who are also facing questions regarding personal ethics, I think dampens public enthusiasm for the team of people that she has put together so far. Basically, she promised to reach out and draw in people from across the aisle, but so far it seems that the people that she's picking are more exclusive and more loyalty-centered than a broad coalition that reaches out to people who didn't vote for her.
So put this in perspective for us. How much of this rough transition is Park's fault, and how much of it is really a reflection of South Korea's rough and tumble partisan politics?
It's absolutely true that the opposition sees its job as to oppose. And one of the major challenges that she currently has is related to a government reorganization plan that has to pass the parliament before all of her people can be put into place. I think on that particular issue, the opposition is living up to its name. They are not going to be able to stop this, but they have been able to hold it up. And that, I think, has contributed to her inability to get her government up and running in time for her inauguration.
So domestic issues aside, there's also the issue of foreign policy, and Park's biggest foreign policy challenge is North Korea. What's her position on the North, and how hard will it be to stay with it, considering the recent nuclear test and the rocket launch back in December?
Well, in the campaign, Park Geun Hye had promised to try to reach out and have dialogue with the North. North Korea in recent weeks and months has clearly taken steps with their satellite launch and their nuclear test that have really constrained what she can do, I think, at this stage. I did note in her inauguration speech that she still talked about building trust with North Korea on a step-by-step basis. But given the current environment, I would suggest that that is going to be a process that is going to take some time in order to play out. And of course, it also does depend on the willingness of the North Korean leadership to reciprocate. And that's, I think, open to question at this stage.
Definitely going to be a challenge for her. It's argued that Park Geun Hye won the job because of older voters' nostalgia for her father, Park Geun Hye, the military strongman who led the country's economic renaissance. Is his daughter up to the job in today's Korea?
Well, I think that's what we're going to find out. I think the one big distinction between her and her father is that she has been a politician, a leader of a party in a vibrant democracy for the past decade or so. And so she, regardless of how her father came to the job, she earned it as a result of winning people's votes. And so I think there's no question about her legitimacy. It's really going to be more a question of style. And Korea today is not the Korea of her father's day. Back then, the Blue House could be like the cockpit of an airplane and you could control things. But now, today's Korea is really, if you're going to run it right, you have to be more like an air traffic controller. And so the question is whether or not her skill set for managing that level of complexity is going to prove to be sufficient.
Well, regardless, she's already made history as the first woman president. Thank you, Scott, so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Scott Snyder is a Korean expert at the Council on Foreign Relations. He lived in South Korea from 2000 to 2004. Park Geun Hye is just one of several leaders in Asia whose family members were also presidents and prime ministers. Among the current crop, Japan's Shinzo Abe. His father was also prime minister. Benigno Aquino's mother was president of the Philippines. Ying Lakshinawat's brother was prime minister of Thailand. And of course, North Korea's Kim Jong-un's political lineage goes way back. The Kims have ruled since 1948.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.